Hello, my name is Carl, and today we're going to be looking at how you can set up a quote in Traedi. So, when you first create an account, you'll be presented with this Finish Setting Up Your Accounts card. In this card, you can add all the relevant information about your business, including your email, phone number, address, and website. All this information will be put on your quotes and invoices if you decide to fill them out. Importantly, in this card is also your quote defaults. In the quote defaults, you can change the quote prefix, how long the quote will be valid for, the default description, and the text that's sent with the quote when you issue it to a customer. You can also add attachments, so if you want to add things like your accreditations to your quote, you can do that here. If you want to get to this menu, after you finish setting up your account, you can go to the settings and then to quotes. All right, let's get on to setting up a quote. Today we're going to be creating a quote for John Doe, and we're going to be installing some light fittings. So let's create a customer for John Doe. Next, we'll create an address for him. Next, we can check if the quote date is correct. So we're going to have the quote start from today and be valid for 7 calendar days. Next, let's add the line items. First off, we want to charge John for our labor. We're going to charge him for 4 hours at $80 an hour. Next, we can charge him for some inventory items, and we're going to charge him for some light fittings. We're going to go ahead and create the inventory item, and we're going to charge him for 5 light fittings at $50 each. Finally, we're going to add a call-out fee, which will be $50. Then we can go ahead and create the quote. Once we've created the quote, we can then preview the PDF. PDF that we send to John will look exactly like this. Since we haven't added any branding information, our business name is just in the top right. If we go through the full setup process, your business information and relevant contact details will appear in the top right. On the quote, you'll notice there's also a QR code for how the customer can accept or decline this quote. If you're happy with the quote, we can then go ahead and issue it to a customer. But if you notice, when we created the contact, we didn't actually give them an email address. We can do this on this page. If we don't give them an email address, we'll have the opportunity to do so when we also issue the quote. To issue the quote, just click on Issue to Customer. The dialog that pops up will give you options to change the issue quote email that gets sent to John Doe. In here, we can add additional attachments, add CC or BCC targets, and change the email body. Let's go ahead and issue that to John. John will now receive an email giving him the opportunity to accept or decline the quote. He will also get a button to take him to the customer portal, which will look like this. If John has told us verbally or by any other means of communication that he wants to accept or decline the quote, you can also do that through the app. Here, John has just told us he's happy to do the quote, and that is how we can create our first quote in Traedi. We've now installed John's light fittings, and we want to go ahead and send him an invoice. Like the quote, we can go to the invoice section on the left-hand navigation and create an invoice. However, since our invoice is going to look very similar to our quote, we have the ability of creating an invoice from the quote, using the quote as a template. You can do this by just clicking on Create Invoice. This invoice will have the same line items as the quote and the same customer and job site. If you want to change any information on this, you can click the pencil to edit any information. For example, we want to change the line items to only charge John for 3 hours of our work, 3 hours of our time instead of 4. We can go ahead and preview the invoice. This is the invoice that gets generated. On this invoice, you'll notice that we don't have any payment details. This is a core feature of Traedi where you do not have to put in all your information up front, and the system will just gracefully handle any missing information. You'll notice on the invoice page, you have the warning here saying that you don't have any bank details. We can update the bank details through the settings or by clicking on the banner. We can add an account name, branch code, and an account number. Go back to our invoice and then preview it again. We now notice that our bank information has now been successfully updated on the invoice. If we're happy with this invoice, we can issue it to our customer, John Doe. This is very similar to issuing a quote, where we get the opportunity now to edit the email that is being sent to them, add additional attachments, and add CC or BCC targets. Let's go ahead and issue this to John. Now that we've issued the invoice to John, you'll notice that the invoice is now awaiting payment. This is a mechanism to track payments against invoices. Let's say John has paid us now $540 by bank transfer. We can put in the reference for his transfer and the amount he has paid us and add this payment. The invoice will now change to paid. Additionally, if you would like to set up online payments through Stripe, you can do so by adding the Traedi payments integration. This gives the customer a link to an online checkout page where they can pay via credit card. All right, great. You've now just issued your first invoice in Traedi. Thanks for watching.